Hey you guys, it's Janine here from the Wealth Building Academy, and today I wanted to answer the question of how much should be in your emergency fund. Now, obviously this year has come at us with a vengeance when it comes to financial security, so it's time for many of us to reassess how much is actually in our emergency funds. I think a lot of people felt comfortable with 1, maybe 3 months of savings, and many experts suggest you should actually have 3 to 6 months of savings put away. That being said, we now know that this global pandemic has gone on for much longer than 6 months, and so it might actually be time to take a look at how much you're contributing and how long you can actually stretch that emergency fund out. Now, I think it's important here in Canada to make sure that you are taking into account the government benefits you'd be entitled to should you lose your income. So the best way to calculate this is actually to take up all of the expenses that you know you would need to have in a specific month. So that does include things like childcare, rent or your mortgage, utilities, groceries, those kinds of things, insurance, and then multiplying it by probably at this point between 3 and 9 months, depending if you have dependents. Then subtract the amount that you would actually receive from the government benefits that you'd be entitled to. So things like EI, which is about $2,000 a month, or some of the new caregiver benefits such as CRB, as well as any other maybe COVID related benefits that you may actually qualify for provided you lose your job. Once you've gone ahead and done that, you can see a more realistic number of how much you actually need to save. While this can feel like a very strange and stressful time for many, when it comes to starting or bolstering that emergency fund, it's important to remember that we want to do this in little steps so that it doesn't become overwhelming. Obviously, if you receive a big tax return or an inheritance, you might want to consider putting some of that money into an emergency fund. But in most people's situation, it's easiest to actually automate those contributions by a few dollars every week or every month. So maybe that's $10 a week, or perhaps you can afford $50 every paycheck. Automate that in a savings account to go into that emergency fund. This way, it isn't going to feel like a completely overwhelming and daunting task, and you'll still be increasing how much you're saving. Now, I want to point out that it's not about actually getting to that goal, and it's more about setting yourself up for financial success should something negative happen in your life. So many people never reach their emergency fund goal, and that's okay because they are leveraging that emergency fund when they do need it in situations like the one we're in now. So for context, my husband and I have never actually reached our emergency fund goal. Every couple of years, something comes up and we need to pull money out of that, whether it's someone's not working, or we have a car repair, or something in our house needs to be fixed or updated. All of those things that constitute as emergencies, you can pull money out of that emergency fund and then continue to build it. So again, it's about keeping that habit and saving up for the unknown. Now, I think it's important to talk about where we want to put this money. We want to be putting this money in as high interest of a savings account as you can possibly find. EQ Bank and Tangerine are probably two of your best options, as they are online banks with no fees that do offer higher interest rates. It can also be beneficial to open a bank account with a bank that is not the same as the one that you do your day-to-day banking, so that you're not actually seeing this money and tempted to spend it. So again, online banks that offer no fees, I think, are great options. And again, look for that highest interest rate possible when you are saving for that emergency fund. The last thing I'll say about emergency funds is there's no right or wrong way of doing it. If you're putting money away for your future or for a rainy day, then you're doing the right things and taking the right steps to becoming financially independent. And no one can predict these life events, whether it's a global pandemic, a divorce, or a medical crisis that you're having in your household. I think just saving for the unknown, if that's possible for you, and having a little bit of extra money to cushion you in those situations is definitely a positive. So keep on contributing to that emergency fund, keep on building it up, and don't beat yourself up if you are actually pulling money out of your emergency fund. That's what it's there for. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. And if you have any questions about emergency funds, please leave them in the comment section below, and I'll see you next week.